Well, we're back. That's a lot of toots. Hi, Dad. We're back to Kyoto Wins. My voice is squeaky because I had to sing as Morgan today. But we're gonna be starting Hanada's route. This is gonna be fun. The kindest member of the Shinsengumi. How will his route go? I don't know. I'm not gonna even attempt to read that for a thing. Would I like to skip the prologue? Yes. Things are fine. Things are absolutely fine. It's time to skip just about everything. Da da da. Up. We're skipping straight from here. Whee! Okay, I will act out the last two routes, okay? I promise. Oh, yay! Nice mornings are
うる
good.
さいな。おじさん二人は黙ってなよ。
Butchin mash.
いや、それ。じゃ、さ、はい、い。な、お、つま。
Eh? Oh no, dentist. No, not the dentist. Anything but the dentist, Dan.
俺たち、けち。お、で、お、こい。あ、だ、た、さ、ふく、ど。
My eyes are itchy. Or at least one of them.
それ、しょ。
Not the dentist for 40 minutes! Please tell me it's like a routine clean or whatever. Anyway, our choices is, we're gonna attempt to explain the situation. God damn it, Twix. Oh no, not... I had braces once. I think I didn't last a week. You know exactly what, Twix. You know exactly what.
大胆だなお前さん。囚われの身分で俺らを呼びつけるなんてよ。で、自分から声をかけてくるなんざ、そろそろ腹も決まったのか。
No, that's not it. I want you to hear me out.
おそらくあんたの事情は汲めないだろう。それでよければ話すといい。
お前の運のなさには同情する。まあ、成仏してくれない。
ほら、男なら諦めが肝心だろ。
They all spoke as if they'd already consigned me to death. It was time to make my choice. Ooh. Have fun in Monster Hunter. Well, the guide says we gave up. Bitch. I tucked my legs underneath me and sat up, as straight and dignified as I could manage.
何か言い残すことはないのか。さっき話を聞けって言ってたよな。
Forget it. He looked surprised by the brevity of my response. Earlier, he told me I should accept my death and rest in peace. His mind was already made up. I'm fine, Twix. I'm fine. I'm excited for this route. I don't know where it goes. And this is second to last mystery route that I have. What chance did I really have? Do what you will. Just get this over with. I don't want to die, but if I told them I was really a girl, then they'd certainly ask why I'd been dressed as a man. There were no ways I could explain without mentioning my father. The possibility of misspeaking could cause my father and Matsumoto-sensei trouble. That thought alone kept my mouth shut.
いい顔だ。覚悟が決まったんだな。
He smiled and laid his hand on the sword at his hip. The one time Harada actually has a need for his sword.
サノ、そこまでだ。この者の処分はまだ決定していない。
だな。ま、こんな度胸のある女、みすみす殺しちまうのはもったいないしな。
Did he just say girl? What? How did you know?
そんなの見りゃ。
ちょっと待てサノ。俺の耳には今女とか聞こえたんだが。
男の格好をしてるが、こいつ見るからに女だぜ。わかるだろ。
How did that counter go up?
見りゃって。袴だろ。袴履いてるし。
でもまあ、よく見りゃ細いのもガキなのも女だからだよな。新八さん、認めろよ。
Heisuke, even you didn't know! Todo-san seemed to shrug it off, moving to pat Nagakura on the shoulder. Then he glanced at me.
で、なんで男の格好してるのかとか、その辺の話、俺らに詳しく聞かせてくれよ。
Out of the Baka trio here, the smartest person in this room is Harada. And now, we get to press the skip button again. Skip! We've been through this how many times already? This is 11. This is the 11th. We're almost done, I swear. Anyway, they're trying to decide what the fuck to do with us, and they found out I'm actually related to Kota Yukimura, and that's probably a problem. But maybe not, but they're letting us stay here, because they are also looking for our father. Da, 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 da. Okay. February. It's only been a week. Oh, we got this scene again. Alright. I know what scene is happening now. Anyway, we are ordered to stay in our room by Hichikata-san, who currently is away with Son and Son to Osaka. We also have our sword. It's a family heirloom that we keep by our side. Anyway, we are going to search the compound. Okay, not that one. Not Awuga time, no. But it's the scene that I love because it includes the Baka trio. Also, I took a deep breath, gathered my courage, and stepped out of the room. There's no one here. I looked around. The hall was utterly empty. Then again, since I'd snuck out of my room, it was probably for the best that no one had seen me. Still, I felt a little guilty about it. Perhaps I should have just stayed in my room. If I wandered around the compound, it was likely I'd see something I wasn't supposed to. I'd already stumbled onto one of the Shinsengumi secrets the night I met them. I had no wish to do so again. Unfortunately, we know how the story unfolds. Maybe I should reconsider. After some deliberation, I decided it was best to return to my room. But as I turned to walk back... Huh? From near the entrance, I heard... something. Slowly, I peeked around the corner. Walking towards the door, looking as if they would prefer not to be seen, were Harada and Nagakura. Oh. Can I come with you? Maybe if they let me go outside, I could finally start looking for my father.
そりゃ別に構わねえが、お前は楽しくないんじゃねえかな。
連れて行けるかバカ。勝手に許可してんじゃねえよ。
ああ、外出禁止なんだっけな、お前。それより見張りなしで部屋から出てていいのか？
Well, where are you going anyway?
おいおい、ごまかすなよ。まあ、いいけどな。俺らはこれから島原に行くとこだ。
Shimabara? The name was familiar. Wait, isn't that in the red light district? Nagakura shook his head between us and sighed.
女の子に向かって島原に行くとかわざわざ本当のこと言うなよ。
嘘つけねえんだよ、俺。知ってんだろ。考えに繰り出すくらい別にやましくもねえし。
お前は酒が目当てだろうから後ろめたくもなんともねえだろうよ。
Nagakura, you going for something other than alcohol?
いや、酒っていうかなんていうか、ほら、お酒っていうだろ。
True, there was luckily no shortage of beautiful women throughout Shimabara. Someone like Harada who visited just for the drinks was a rarity, if I were to guess. But you're going in the afternoon?
真っ昼間から酒飲むのも男のロマンってやつなんじゃねえの？
Harada held a natural charm that seemed to shrug off any judgment over possible impropriety. One of those words is correct. Well, even so, I hardly think it's good to be drinking in the afternoon. Even if it was every man's dream, it didn't feel right to condone it. Two captains drinking during the afternoon would hardly help the Shinsugumi's low public opinion. And it was already low. Then again, perhaps it wasn't my business to think of the Shinsengumi's public reputation.
昼から遊び歩くのはあんまり常識的じゃないってお前の言うこともわかるんだけどよ。
違
近頃の今日は何かと物騒なんだ。俺たち新選組だってうかつに夜遊びできね
True.
え。だから常識に縛られず行きたい時に行く。真っ昼間から遊びに行くことを迷わねえ。
That didn't really seem right. But even so, on some level, his absurd logic made some sense. After all, everyone needs to relax from time to time, especially if they have the worries of the Shinsengumi. And if they worked at night, then when else would they go out but the afternoon? I was reflecting upon this when Todo-san walked in.
あれまさかお前も行くの？
Well, I still haven't received permission to leave the house. I don't want Hichikata-san to get mad at me.
そっか。そいつは残念だな。
You're going to Shimabara too then, Todo-san?
ああ、そうだけど。で、東堂さんとか他人行儀な呼び方やめようぜ。
Well, what should I call you then?
平介でいいよ。みんなも俺のことを平介って呼ぶし、これからしばらく一緒に暮らすんだしよ。それに、そのデスマスもやめようぜ。年も近いからもっと気楽に話してくれよ。
Really? I just didn't want to be rude, Todo-san.
ほら、治ってないぜ。
Alright then, Heisuke.
そうそう。んじゃあ、今日から改めてよろしくな。
It's a pleasure to meet you too, Heisuke. It wasn't anything important, I knew, but something about the exchange made me feel happy. Heisuke had, perhaps unknowingly, cheered me up. But... You're still going to Shimabara then?
そりゃその。でも島原だから女ってわけじゃねえよ。みんなで酒飲んでバカ騒ぎしたい気分なんだ。
お前が女の格好をしてくれるんならそれだけで十分に目の保養なんだけどな。
What?
あ、俺も絶対可愛いと思う。いろいろ落ち着いたら振り袖とか着てみせてくれよな。
You guys, this is just so sudden. It was embarrassing for them to treat me like a girl all of a sudden, as if it just occurred to them. Dress like a girl. What should I tell them? Yeah. Nope, we can't. Their smiles confused me. Tomboy, let's go. Tomboy, incidentally, because we can't be around the compounds dressed like a girl in a compound full of men. That would be the most horrible thing ever. So, accidental tomboy. Also, we have a sword. No, I can't.
なんでだよ。ちょっと着替えてくれるだけでいいんだぜ。
I know, but it's just that I'm not too comfortable with changing yet.
まあそういうこともあるよな。わかった。無理強いはしないぜ。
ちょっと佐野さ
Yeah, Harada, you were the one that brought it up.
いいからいいから、そういうことにしとけって。
Once we settled the topic of the appropriateness of my wardrobe, Nagakura shared his opinion.
そういうわけでさしてくれよ。俺らは汗水垂らして今日の治安を守ってんだぜ。
That's not a very convincing excuse. Despite my reservations, I understood the truth. They were partaking in normal activities for men. Besides, who was I to try and stop them in the first place? I certainly had no authority over them. While visiting pleasure quarters in broad daylight wasn't my thing, if the superiors took no issue... I was a guest of the Shinsengumi, and it would be rude for me to try and tell them what to do. But even so, they went out of their way to talk to me until I felt better about the situation. This showed they were good men, with nothing to hide. Alright. I suppose their reasoning made sense to me, and part of me was just envious of them. I too wanted to be free of the staleness in this compound, and search for my father.
土産買ってきてやる。何か食べたいものあるか?
Even though I was still turning the issue at hand in my head, the thought of food made me salivate. Alright then, I'd like some tangerines. Maybe we can eat them together tomorrow afternoon? And now I want some tangerines and I don't have tangerines. Fuck.
そいつはいいな。わかったぜ。
土方さんから外出許可が下りたらさ、お前の好きなとこ連れてってやるから。
Well, thank you, but Heisuke, you don't need to worry, alright? Even if you couldn't take me out now, it's the thought that counts. Thanks for cheering me up.
悪いな。ちゃっくら出かけてくるぜ。
Just as I wave to send those three off.
おや、これからみんなで出かけるのかい?
All of us nonchalantly turned our heads around to see Inoue pacing towards us.
よりによってゲンさんかよ。
おっと、こいつは参ったな。
They all refused to make eye contact and fell silent, so I responded to Inoue in their stead. Well, I'm not going anywhere, but, I had no idea what else to say. Were they expecting me to cover for them?
ほら、あれだよ、ゲンさん、あれ。みんなで素振りでもしようかなって。
Heisuke quickly warmed to his excuse, as did Nagakura.
そう、それだ、平介。よく言った。今日は天気もいいし、風が暖かいからな。
What they said. After hearing their excuses, Inoue reacted.
いやはや長倉くんたちは熱心だな。せっかくの機会だ。私も付き合わせてくれるかい?
He looked honestly happy, pleased with the dedication of his fellows.
それは。
そうきたか。
Seeing as they were hopeless in getting themselves out of this, I decided to lend a hand. You guys are really going to train? Just then, Heisuke opened his mouth.
あ、ごめん。俺もみんなと素振りしたいけど、今日は先約があるから付き合えないんだった。
Plans?
こいつに豚書の中を案内してやるって約束。そうだったよな。
It was news to me.
あ、頼む。話を合わせてくれ。
We can't say no to Heisuke. We can never say no to the good boy. He gave me a desperate, somber look with eyes like a sad puppy. I had no choice but to go along. That's right. Yeah.
ああ、そうそう。そうだよな。
His eyes sparkled and he grabbed a hold of my hand and began to walk off. Heisuke had cheered me up earlier, after all. Perhaps in this way, I was returning the favor.
待て、平介。一人だけ逃げようなんざ。
Before he could even finish, Harada interrupted, a mischievous grin appearing on his face. In this house, we appreciate Harada as much as we appreciate Nagakura.
俺も付き合ってやるよ。他の大使に絡まれちゃ面倒だろ。
Well, I suppose you have a point.
そうかそうか。原田君の言うことはもっともだね。
Throw Heisuke's credibility out the window.
彼女のことは二人にお任せするとして。じゃあ長倉君、我々は中庭に行こうか。
平助のみならずお前もか佐野。
His knuckles turned white and his face shook with exasperation.
よし、逃げぞ。
What?
辛抱さんすぐ怒るからな。
Heisuke grabbed my hand and Harada pushed me from behind, and soon we were moving away from the entrance at a rapid clip.
この裏切り者戻ってこい。
Nagakura's shouts were echoing, but the laughter of the two men caused their eyes to sparkle in kind. I kind of wish they put those two clips together, because they have done it before. So I don't see why they couldn't put the laughs together for that one. It was infectious, and I couldn't help but laugh with them, my worries gradually drifting from me. After the commotion settled, Heisuke and Harada gave me a tour around the headquarters. Nagakura, alternatively, had no such luck. I heard later that he and Inoue spent the rest of the day training, just the two of them. At the end of the day, I think he's a good man. We're back to skipping again. Skippity skip, skip, skip. Hey, Okita.
So
Okita just has permanent kitty face whenever he's being fucking smug. Ooh. So apparently Okita keeps himself up with just sake, and I'm just like, Okita, you have to eat some food, buddy. Okay, sorry, I had to approve that message. The number, the words 7, 8, and 9, that combination combined is apparently wrong. The 7th, 8th, and 9 words. That's your answer, Dan. Yeah. I'm surprised it caught something like that, so at least we know Twitch works. Anyway, skipping! Da, da, da. Secrets we shouldn't be learning! Anyway. To bed we go. And it's now March. It's true. Yeah. I knew what you were talking about though, so like this fine. Anyway, Hijikata-san and San are back. And now we're going to go fight Hijikata-san and run into fucking Takeda. Because we always run into Takeda. There might be a way to make him not icky. If you wanted to give Talk it out, Root. There might be a way.
おい、お前、あい腕抜け目のないやつだからな。気をつけろ。
Eh. In The Witcher. I don't know if I want to know why. Anyway, the guide says, quietly return to my room. Although I was able to finally see Hijikata-san, I didn't want to walk around and cause trouble. So just as Hijikata-san ordered, I decided to return to my room. I needed to go to sleep, but I couldn't manage to keep my eyes closed.
それから、用がないならお前もこの辺でうろうろしてないで、部屋に戻っていろ。
My brain doesn't get it, but, my brain really doesn't get it. I'm not gonna say it either, and I don't think I should allow it. Cause I don't know what it means, so I ain't testing the waters. Hijikata words clattered back and forth through my mind, my anxiety creeping heavily abound. Bleh. Heavily abound. I can't tell how they actually feel about me staying here within the headquarters. I can see the Witcher pulling from mythology. Thoughts of my father linger hopelessly within the empty spaces in my room, left to contend against the painful reality that I may be killed. Staring into the flickering flame of my bedroom lantern, my despair unfurled deeply harshly. Doggo of fortune? Doggo?
おい、いつまで起きてるんだ?
Oh, this is a new scene. I'm so glad I read it. I'm sorry. I'll get in bed right now. I scrambled to extinguish my lantern, but...
いや、別に叱ったわけじゃねえんだが。部屋の中入ってもいいか?
Sure, of course. The door slid softly open. Harada stepped inside. And he closed the door behind him too. I heard that sound effect.
今日はずいぶん遅くまで起きてるんだな。考え事でもしてたのか?
Dog of wisdom? I forgore? Oh. No, I was just about to go to sleep. Speaking about earlier would be close to a death sentence, so I did my best to avoid the topic. Unfortunately, I must not have been convincing. Since Harada looked into my eyes for a moment and then gave me a bitter smile.
やけに暗い顔してるじゃないか。何か嫌なことでもあったか?
No, not really.
お前みたいな若い娘が男女体に押し込められてんだし、きついだろうな、正直なとこ。だからって俺にはどうすることもできねえが、話ぐらいなら聞いてやれるぜ。言ってみろ。何があった?
You sounded so kind and earnest. I felt my heart begin to falter. Harada stared down at me silently for several long moments. Then he seemed to make up his mind, nodded, and began to speak.
よし、今から外に出かけるぞ。用意しろ。
Eh? Harada, what? What? Out? You mean out of the room? But I can't.
いいからさっさとついてこい。お前もたまには外の空気吸いてえだろ。
Then he strode out of the room, and I didn't feel like I had any choice but to follow him. Where are we going? This seemed to be a joke at first, but once we left the compound, Harada showed no sign of stopping. Are you sure this is okay? Disneyland? Yes, we're going to Disneyland. It hasn't even been created yet. I think Disney doesn't even exist at this point. That's funny to think so.
豚書の外を一周してくるくらい平気だろう。
It had to start somewhere. It started in the 1930s, I think. We're in 1864. A little bit off. Hey, but who knows? Maybe in this universe, it actually did start before. I don't know. We're in an alternate reality.
もしお前が逃げようとしたら、そん時は切り捨てりゃいいだけのことだしな。
I don't know. Also, it's the history fact. As far if I'm remembering correctly, Harada here, the real life Harada in the Shinsengumi actually had a wife and kid. And it was still somehow part of the Shinsengumi, even though the Shinsengumi usually don't allow men with families. But I don't remember if he joined when he had a wife and child, or if that happened after. But I know that's the truth about Harada. What could I possibly say to that? Thank you. Apparently. I see. Thanks. He stumbled and turned to look at me, eyes wide.
ちょっと待て。話の流れが読めねえんだが。俺はお前を切るって言ったんだぜ。なのにどうして例の言葉が返ってくるんだ。
Well, if you get caught, you're probably going to get in trouble too, right? But you still decided to bring me out here anyway. That's what I'm thanking you for. Were you worried about me? He blinked in surprise, and I saw him swallow.
まあ、確かにその通りだけどよ。物事に里い女ってのは怖えな。まだまだガキだと思ってたが、人の本質ってもんをきちんと見抜いてんだな。
His face bent into a crooked smile. Oh, no, I mean... I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pry.
おいおい、俺は一応お前のことを褒めてんだぜ。あと4、5年もすりゃ、細かいことによく気のつくいい女になるんじゃねえかって。
I couldn't help but blush from his words. But I wasn't comfortable meeting his eyes. We kept walking for a bit, strolling around the outside of the compound.
しかし、月が出てねえのは幸いだったな。おかげで土方さんたちに見つからずに、こうやって豚書を抜け出せたし。
He looked up at the empty sky before facing me.
せっかく今日に来たんだし、名所でも案内してやれりゃいいんだが、騒ぎになると面倒だからよ。悪いけど、今日のところはこれで勘弁してくれるか。
Sure. I nodded and looked up at the sky. Millions of little diamonds scattered across a black quilt, constellating so many lives together. The sky is so vast, nothing could ever confine it. For a long moment, I felt free. We were heading back towards the entrance when... Oh no.
佐野、どこかに出かけていたのか。
Oh, thank God, it's Saito and not Hijikata. I was about to have a heart attack. I ducked into the shadows when I heard his voice. Hanada casually moved to hide me.
ちょっとな、夜の散歩だ。お前は巡察から戻ってきたところか？
ああ、最近老師たちが妙な動きを見せているという報告を受けた。近々何か起こるかもしれん。佐野もなるべく一人では出歩かぬよう気をつけた方がいい。
With that said, Saito-san turned and walked off. As far as I could tell, he hadn't been able to see me.
危ねえ危ねえ。油断大敵ってとこだな。
危ね
そんじゃ、他の大使どもに見つからねえうちに中に戻ろうぜ。
We managed to sneak back to my room without anyone else noticing.
いきなり連れ出したりしちまってすまなかったな。
Oh no, thank you for thinking of me. He didn't respond, just looked towards the porch.
土方さんは大使どもから鬼副長なんて言われてるけどよ。ああ見えて意外と苦労人でな。その分頭が切れて細かいことにまでよく気がつく。理不尽なことは絶対にしねえ人だ。そんな土方さんがお前をここに飼い殺しにしてるのには何か理由があるはずだ。
When he turned and looked into my eyes, his expression was flat and cold.
ただし、もしお前が勝手な真似をしたら、あの人はとことん冷酷な判断を下すだろう。土方さんに限らず、ここにいる連中はみんなそうだ。
The red and blue crew.
もちろん、俺だってためらわねえよ。必要となりゃいつでも槍を振るうさ。
What, did I choose bad, Dad?
お前もそれだけは頭に叩き込んどいてくれ。
Okay.
じゃあ、あんまり夜更かしさせて明日寝坊させんのもなんだし、俺はもう行くからよ。
Oyasumi. He turned with a nod and strode out of my room. My sphere is always ready. He was certainly scary, but... Harada showed me a great deal of kindness in risking the trouble of taking me out, just for me. He even covered me when Saito-san appeared. He spends a lot of time saying frightening things, but he's very genuine and warm. Harada's support of Hijikata-san says a lot about the both of them, and maybe I should trust Hijikata-san. Perhaps it is worth it for me to be a little stronger to face what's ahead of me. This all put my mind at a gentler ease. Goddamn, where did the case come from? This all put my mind at a gentler ease as I bundled into my warm futon and lay my head to rest. We're now in June. Oh no. I forget if it's June or July that I should be worried about. No, July is when I should be worried about. June 1864. We're skipping. Again. Because we've been through this 10 times. Da 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 da, give us a choice. Give us our choices, please. And our choice is joining them on their rounds. I think this is round 3 of this. I'm still gonna read it anyway. Or round 4. Actually, I think this is round 4. Oh, I see, Dan. Have fun? I guess? With Rathalos? Well, I would like to accompany Nagakura, Harada, and Heisuke on their patrol.
なんだ俺たちと一緒に来るつもりか巡察って遊びじゃねえんだぜ
別に脅かす必要はねえだろう。俺たちに表立って喧嘩を売ってくる命知らずがそうそういるはずねえし。
ああ、大船に乗ったつもりで安心してくれていいぜ。
Thank you. My hands trembled from excitement. I was going to be able to join Hagakura and the others. Alright, I'll do it for a third time. Ah, that's interesting. Turf war! Although I was given approval to pursue the inner yard or the front gate, this was special. It was almost 5 months since I'd been able to step out of the headquarters and explore. It was as if I could take my first breath after being submerged underwater.
俺たちから離れねえようにしろよ。知ってると思うが、今日の治安は良くねえからな。
Got it. While tagging alongside the men on their rounds, I was served a dose of reality I wasn't prepared for. I now have learned about Rathians. I didn't know there was Rathalos and Rathians, but now I know. A pervasive sense of revolution came from every pair of eyes laid on the Shinsengumi. Ugh. However, when we met their judgmental gaze, they pretended to go about their business, shuffling themselves away. Their body language denoted a mixture of fear and disgust, as if they were paralyzed by rumors. Are those the ones that like to eat like rocks? I'm trying to remember. Air on. It's too warm. Amidst the haze, I overheard someone mutter, "The Mibu wolves."
どうした？浮かねえ顔してるが、具合でも悪いのか？
Oh no, it's nothing like that. I brought my voice to a whisper and quietly asked Harada a question. What are the Mibu wolves? I've heard it in murmurs from the townspeople since we started doing our rounds.
俺たちのあだ名だよ。ミブ村の老子と狼をかけてミブロだと。
I think those are the ones that eat rocks. I don't know. I just know there's one cute lizard thing in Monster Hunter, and I don't remember its name. No, not frogs, rocks. I'm not sure if being a wolf is something to be proud of. But why? You guys are protecting the safety of Kyo, right?
今日の人間はよそ者が嫌いだからな俺たちのことを田舎者だのなんだろって散々バカにしてくれやがって
まあ、江戸みてえにいろんな藩の出の人間が住んでるわけじゃねえからな。どうしてもよそ者への偏見はあるさ。
Aha! I was right then. It is the cute one. As it stood, the warriors seemed used to how the townspeople treated them. I kept my hands on my side, keeping a keen eye around the city for any sign of my father. All of a sudden,
貴様、今何と申したのだ。我ら勤王の死に立てつくとは、天使様に弓引くのと同じことぞ。
A group of thugs with greasy, unkempt hair were causing trouble with some of the townsfolk. Heisuke noticed the emerging fray and was quick to aid whomever the thugs were harassing.
おいてめえら、そこで何してやがる。新選組だぞ、神妙にしろ。
身分郎だと。
The Ronin caught sight of the Shinsengumi's light blue jackets and drew his sword in response. It was clear, however, the Ronin were no match.
おとなしくしろ。暴れなきゃ命までは取らねえよ。
おのれ。
One of the Ronin tried to make a run for it by pushing through the surrounding warriors.
待ちやがれ。
Heisuke chased after him, but the Ronin was quick at navigating the crowds, giving him the edge. I didn't think there was any chance of catching him, but then, appearing out of nowhere.
どこに行くつもりだ。何もやましいことがないなら逃げることはないはずだろ。
A mysterious samurai appeared, grabbing the Ronin's shoulders and stopping him in his tracks.
邪魔をするな。
The Ronin threw a punch at the samurai, landing in his face. Landing in his face? Landing on his face, damn it.
その程度の腕前でこの俺の足止めをしようとするなど100年早いわ。
The Ronin roared with a smug laughter. Attempting to run, he was stopped by Harada.
おっと、どこに行くつもりだ。まさか仲間を見捨てて逃げるなんて言わねえよな。
豚書までお付き合い願うぜ。いつ解放してやれるかはわからねえがな。くそ、ふざけるな。
Before the Ronin could swing his sword, Nagakura and Harada tackled and subdued him.
何をする。離さぬか。うるせえぞ。今からもっと痛い目に遭わせてやるからな。
Heisuke approached a mysterious samurai who attempted to stop the Ronin.
手伝ってくれてありがとよ。助かったぜ。
The samurai sat on the floor with his head down, hiding his bloody, disgruntled face.
別に礼を言われたくてしたことじゃない。
He wiped his mouth without wincing, adjusting his posture sheepishly. He sounded as if he were muttering to himself.
新選組が乱暴者の集まりだっていうのは本当らしいな。あいつが言ってた通りだ。
Heisuke was visibly angered by the samurai's words.
俺たちが乱暴者ってどういうことだ。誰が言ってた。
いや、誰って。江戸じゃ誰もがそう言ってるぞ。名を上げることしか頭にない血に飢えた人斬り集団の新選組ってな。
The samurai's harsh words rung deep within Harada, causing him to grab the samurai's collar and push him against the wall.
てめえ、今なんつった。
何をするんだ。俺は聞かれたから答えただけだぞ。
じっくり聞かせてもらおうじゃねえか。江戸の噂かどうか知らねえが、お前が俺たちをどう思ってるかをよ。
待て、俺の考えじゃないって言っただろうが。そこの人も止めてくれ。
こうなっちまったら諦めろ。佐野にはこの手の冗談は全く通じねえんだから。命が惜しければ早いとこ詫び入れた方がいいぜ。
なあ、俺たちのことは江戸じゃそんなに噂になってるのか。
それは。
He turned away awkwardly and a piece of paper dropped out of his inner pocket.
なんだこれ。
Harada reached down to pick up the piece of paper and the samurai's eyes widened in panic.
待て、それに触るな。
The samurai raised his hand down to grab the paper, but Nagakura and Heisuke were faster than him.
おーっと、
離せ。何をする。
With two men holding him down, the samurai's desperate attempts to break free of their grasp were hopeless. They were far too strong.
何をするはこっちのセリフだろ。どうしていちいち突っかかるんだよ。
うるさい、この鳴らす者ども。
Harada grabbed the piece of paper and examined it as Nagakura and Heisuke argued with the samurai. His face wore a deeply concerned expression. I wasn't able to catch a glimpse myself. My heart pounded. Was it a lead from my father? Did it describe a plot against the Shinsengumi? Suddenly, Harada looked up to question him.
お前この絵をどこで手に入れた？
Harada's tone of voice shifted, as if the two were locked in a duel to the death.
なんだ？何が書かれてたんだよ。
Nagakura could sense something was off with Harada. Harada handed a piece of paper to Nagakura without speaking a word. Nagakura examined it for a second before passing it to Heisuke, both of whom snapped into alertness.
武士にこんなことをしてただで済むと思っているのか。
そんなこと関係ねえ。いいから答えろ。
The conversation shifted into an interrogation, one party in full control and demanding answers. The samurai glared intensely at the captains, but his words did not match his intensity.
江戸の知り合いからもらったんだよ。
その知り合いっつうのは誰？
どうしてそんなことまで言わなきゃならないんだ。あんたたちには関わりのないことだろうが。
関わりがあるかないかは俺たちが判断することだ。いいから答えろよ。
Harada was clearly growing frustrated with the samurai's lack of cooperation. It was clear the samurai had nowhere to run, so he gave in, hoping to be let go.
知ってる絵描き見習いだ。それ以上は言わない。
この絵はそいつから譲り受けたのか、それとも売られてたものか。
売り物じゃない。俺が無理に譲ってもらったんだ。
絵はこれ1枚きりか？それとも他に何枚かあるのか？
わからないが、俺が知ってる限りその1枚だけだ。
そうか。
Harada held a piece of paper in his hands, exhaling while staring at it pensively. Nagakura continued.
この絵は俺たちが預かる。つうか、お前も今から屯所に連行だ。
何を言い出すんだ。どうしてあんたたちが俺を。
The desperation in his voice was palpable, but Nagakura and Harada gave him no chance to leave.
つべこべ言うなよ。お前、名前はなんて言うんだ？
The samurai fired a glance at Harada so sharp it could have cut, but he finally relented.
相馬和江。
相馬か。ま、運が悪かったと思って諦めろよ。屯所で戦議してみて問題がないって分かれば解放してやるからさ。
Despite Heisuke's reassurances, Soma showed no signs of giving up and seethed with anger.
何もしてない俺を連行しようとするあんたたちの言葉なんて信用すると思ってるのか。
俺たちもできれば穏便に済ませてやりてえんだから、それ以上文句言うなって。
Heisuke seemed to be acting genuinely to Soma. I was surprised that he didn't do anything worse. So we apprehended Soma, along with the Ronin from earlier, and returned to headquarters. I was still curious about what the drawing was on the piece of paper. Perhaps it's best that I don't know. The men kept to themselves quietly on our walk. Once we returned to the compound, all of the captains were gathered. They circled around Soma silently, glaring intently at him. The air was suffocatingly still. I hadn't felt this way at the headquarters since my arrival.
で、この絵を描いたのはどんなやつなの？
知らない。
おい、さっきは知り合いの絵師だって言ったじゃねえか。
記憶にないな。
おい、てめえ。嘘をつくのもいい加減にしろよ。
ねえ君、何も話すつもりがないなら切っちゃうけど、それでもいい？
Okita reached for his sword, but Sato-san moved his arm in front of him to stop. Oh. Well, you did it.
待て掃除。三男さんの話が先だ。
相馬くんと言いましたね。あなたはこの絵を何を描いたものだと思っていますか？
浅黄色の大服を着た新選組大使だろ。
確かに着物はそうですね。ですがこの絵の人物は白髪で目が赤く口が裂けています。あなたはこれを見て何とも思いませんでしたか？
確かに変だとは思ったが、そいつが新選組は鬼のような奴らだって言ってたから、そうなのかなって。
なるほど、鬼ですか。的を射ているかもしれませんね。
Oh, that's nice, Dan. Rare rewards are fun.
ところで新選組のことをよく知っていて絵の心得がある人物、私たちにも心当たりがないわけではありません。これを描いたのは伊吹くんですね。
Soma's eyes grew wide, telegraphing that his secret was revealed by Sanan-san. He was defeated, nodding to Sanan-san.
もう一度聞くぞ。この絵はこれ一枚きりなんだよ。
ああ、捨てるつもりだって言ってたのを無理やりもらってきたからな。だが、なんだってこの絵のことで俺がこんな目に遭わなきゃならないんだ。
こんな鬼みてえな絵が市中に出回ってみろ。俺たちの評判が今まで以上に落ちるに決まってるだろうが。
それは確かに。
というわけでこの絵は没収させていただきます。いいですね。
Sana-san's rhetorical question left Soma no room to negotiate, leaving him to sigh in defeat.
わかった。好きにしてくれ。俺の疑いもこれで晴れたんだろう。
His face looked haggard, exhausted from stress. Gonda-san stepped forward slowly and nodded.
相馬くんだったな。俺は会津藩お預かり新選組局長を務めている近藤勇という。うちの大使が手荒な真似をしてしまってすまなかったな。許してほしい。
Gonda-san exerted his extreme courteousness by bowing deeply and sincerely. Soma was caught off guard by his act of kindness, his eyes growing wide. Instantly he became flustered.
顔を上げてくれ。あなたは新選組局長なのでしょう。俺みたいな小心な者に頭を下げるなんて。
I don't blame Soma for being so surprised. The samurai way of life dictates that honor and hierarchy are most important than life itself. Supposedly, the punishment for dishonoring yourself can be dishonoring your entire family, even for one poor display of manners.
局長という立場にあるからこそ、己の過ちは素直に認めるべきだと俺は思う。まあ、世に言う武士のあり方とは少し違うかもしれんがな。
本物の侍でありてえと思っちゃいるが、今の武士の腐ったところだけを真似ても しょうがねえからな。
Soma was dumbfounded. He didn't speak or move. It was as if he'd never been shown a similar kindness in his entire life. Kondo-san glanced kindly at Soma, his eyes trying to communicate a sense of safety.
この絵を描いた伊吹君は元気にしているのかな。
はい、とても。
そうか、それはよかったなあ、トシ。
そんな奴のことは覚えてねえ。
He's just gonna be like, I don't care. Which is as much Hijikata as Hijikata can get. Hijikata didn't care for Kondo-san's olive branch. However, Hijikata-san's body language seemed forced, making me feel as if he was secretly relieved that this Ibuki person is doing well. The other captains too reflected a collective sense of relief, easing the tensions from earlier. I gotta learn about Ibuki. Except any game that he's in has never been localized or translated all the way through, so I guess I have to leave that up to the anime to fill me in. Was this Ibuki a friend of the Shinsengumi? It's strange to think about how large they are, and how many friends they've met and lost in time. It was obvious that Kondo-san deserved his place as chief, though, for his warm demeanor.
ではそろそろ帰ります。本日の機体の大使の方々に対する数々の無礼お許しください。
Soma seemed like a completely different person to the man we met earlier, and he bowed deeply.
それじゃ俺はこれで。
Heisuke Nagaku and Harada escorted him to the gate. I think they wanted to see him off.
いやー、悪かったな。無理やりこんなところまで連れてきちまって。
そもそもあんたたちが俺から絵を奪い取ったりしなきゃこんなことにはならなかったんだ。
そう言うなよ。あんな物騒なもんを他の奴らに見られてたらもっと大ごとになってたんだぜ。
そりゃそうかもしれないが。
何にせよ龍之介の消息も聞けたんだし、一件落着ってことでよかったんじゃないか。
そうだな。相馬だっけ。せっかく縁ができたんだし、気が向いたら遊びに来いよ。
遊びにって新選組と関わりを持ったりしたらいろいろと差し障りが。
ああ、そういや普通の半勤めだったな。確かに俺たちなんかと関わってるとバレたら面倒か。
いや、我が班は。
さて、そんじゃそろそろ飯の買い出しに行かねえとな。佐野、英介、付き合ってくれよ。
おう、そんじゃな相馬、また会おうぜ。
はい。
The three of them hurried off to shop for their dinner ingredients, once again leaving me behind. Soma looked at me shyly, and we both smiled faintly before finding the courage to speak.
そういえば聞くのを忘れていたが、君も新選組の大使なのか。
What should I say? Well, according to the guide, it's no, I'm not. I'm not a warrior, though. It's a long story.
なるほど。悪かったな。余計な詮索をして。
Oh, it's fine.
それじゃあ、俺はそろそろ行く。皆にもよろしく言っておいてくれ。
My brain's trying to remember goodbye. It's sayonara. Why my brain lagged for a moment. I bowed politely and Soma walked towards the gate. Soma was so full of mystery, reminding me just how far I was from home. I turned to head back to headquarters, alone in the bleak summer night. Ah, yes, chapter 2. It is time for me to press this button again. Button mash, button mash, button mash, button mash, button mash, button mash. Alright, give me my choices. Because Hijikata really doesn't want us to go out because things are bad outside. But he's still giving us the option. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna remain in the compound. And have we been through this before? Yeah. Oh, I think I know what this is, actually. Yeah, this is the scene with Sun on Sun, which we have seen before. Hey, there he is. There's Sun on Sun. We've seen this maybe 3 times at best, which is... I don't want to see it anymore. I will say off the bat, I wish we got more moments of Sun on Sun being Sun on Sun. And by that I mean like his normal self. We really only got like a little bit at the beginning of chapter 1, which is nice, but the rest of this, till a certain point, we get kind of depressed Sun and Sun. So I kind of wish the story took place a little bit earlier, but I got what I got, I guess. Anyway, Nagakura is bringing stuff to Hijikata-san because we got an intruder and they're going to torture him. So that's nice. And now we're preparing for a raid, or the Shinsengumi is. Anyway, that is absolutely a change that I'm making for Haruka. Dan. I was hesitant giving Sun and Sun a root, but I think I might, just because I agree when people say Sanan's root is a little bit too much missed opportunity in there. Okay, anyway. Da 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 da. We say, why me? And we're gonna go through this. We will do this scene when we reach Yamazaki's, okay? For now, we're skipping it because it's a lot of the same. Anyway, we're running with Yamazaki, and Yamazaki, you should go. And now we're gonna run our legs off. Literally. Whee! And I very nearly began to cry with relief. Hijikata-san was not dressed in the usual light blue jacket, but rather a bright white uniform to be seen in dimly lit places. Instead, I simply collapsed as Harada reached out to grab me.
大丈夫か勝手に豚書から出てると土方さんに怒られるぞ
I grabbed a hold of Harada's hand and pulled my body to its feet. I wanted to tell him I had permission to leave and explain it was all right for me to be there, but I was so winded that I could barely speak. Besides, I wasn't such Hijikata-san to make excuses. I took as deep of a breath as my shuttered lungs could manage before speaking. They're meeting at Ikuda. Suddenly, Hijikata-san's expression changed. I nodded rapidly.
敵の会合場所は池田屋であると
Hijikata-san gestured towards me.
三男さんなら脱走を見過ごさねえ。つまりこいつは早朝命令で豚書を出たってことだ。
よく俺らと合流できたな。今日の地理には詳しくないんだろ。
Yamazaki. I finally got some of my breath back, and I did my best to tell them what had happened.
合図や諸次第はどうなった？もう池田屋に行ってるのか？
I just shook my head. Hijikata-san thought for a moment, then spoke.
斉藤と原田は隊を率いて池田屋へ向かえ。俺はよそで別件を処理しておく。
Harada and Saito-san nodded curtly, then turned to their business.
あんたもこれ以上の単独行動は危険だ。俺たちか副長かどちらかに同行しろ。
I still lacked the breath to respond properly, so I simply nodded. We both knew they couldn't leave me here. But whom should I accompany? Well, for the first time in many, 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 many routes, we had to Ikeda. Actually, no, because I think we didn't last route as well, did we? I don't remember. Anyway, we're heading to Ikeda Inn. As fast as we could manage, we ran through the silent streets of Kyoto towards the Ikeda Inn. We were nearly a block away when we heard the first cries of men engaged in battle. None of the Shinsengumi remained outside, but I heard a voice ring out from inside that sounded much like Kondo-san's.
俺は正面から突入する。
わかった。俺は裏に回るぜ。
They gave each other a curt nod, then turned to lead their men. I couldn't stand there by myself. I decided to follow Harada. I ran after Harada towards the back of the inn. I'm coming with you! I yelled as loud as I could, hoping he could hear me above the sound of fighting from inside the inn.
一緒に行くか。そう言われて置き去りにはできないよな。
He flashed me a quick grin. Even with everything that was going on, he still acted like he had everything under control.
な、お前のことは守ってやるから、あんまり俺から離れるなよ。
We rounded the corner and found ourselves at the rear entrance to the Ikeda Inn. I saw a blue jacket drenched in blood. My hand flew to my mouth almost involuntarily. 3 of the Shinsengumi soldiers lay there. I saw no signs of any other Ronin nearby. Harada walked quickly to each man, checking for signs of life and any wounds they sustained.
安藤とかに言ったか。気を強く持て。もう大丈夫だからな。
They nodded quickly to Harada, their breaths shallow and harsh. He turned to the men he'd brought with him and directed some of them to carry the 2 wounded soldiers away from the inn. The 3rd man, however, even my untrained eyes could see that his face was frozen in the grim, waxy mask of death. Slowly, Harada knelt down beside him.
よくやったな、奥様。立派な死に様だぜ。
His tone was kind, compassionate, and, as he touched the man softly on the head, husky with emotion. Harada. I felt my heart tighten. You might not think it to look at him, but Harada cared for people. He was nice. He undoubtedly been in many battles, and this was far from the first death he'd seen. Death was likely as common as breathing to him, but was he hurt this much by everyone?
こいつらを殺したのは2階から飛び降りてきた奴らだな。
He looked up at the inn and his eyes narrowed. We could still hear the sounds of battle inside. Are they going to be okay? The yawning came back. Harada's response was exactly what I would have expected from him.
心配するなって。あいつらはそんなにやわじゃねえ。それよりいいか。裏から逃げようとする奴が来たら切る。それが俺たちの仕事だ。
Something about his words calmed me. After all, they were tough. They'd be fine. I stood up a little straighter next to Harada and waited. Huh, okay, so I was right about something in my head. Finally, the sun rose from the black sky. The raid itself had lasted only 2 hours. But for me, at least, it had felt far longer. Anyway, we can skip now. The Aizu were being kept back by Hijikata-san, by the way. That's the other part. They did not get involved. For if they got involved, they would take the Shinsengumi's victory away from them. Claim it for themselves, even though they did jack shit. And then this is when we meet... Yes, it is. We can skip this. This is when we meet Iba. Iba. Hachiro. Apparently some people didn't like Hachiro's route, and I'm a little bit confused. Some people said they found it creepy, and I'm just like, they're childhood friends. This man clearly has had a crush since they were young, so I don't see it as creepy. But I guess some people do. Is it because of part 2 of his story? Maybe, but I had figured out that it was because of the thing that happened later in part 1. But I guess it didn't come across everybody? I don't know. Anyway. Yeah. August! Alright, I'll act this out too. Fine. It involves Harada. August 1864. After the fight at the inn, I was able to leave the compound much more often. I suppose after what I'd done, Hijikata-san thought I earned a little more trust. I didn't feel like I did anything extraordinary, but I wasn't about to look a gift horse in the mouth. I was genuinely happy with the man. Hijikata-san approved of me. Wait, what? I was genuinely happy that the man, Hijikata-san, approved of me. On this particular day, I was out on patrol with Harada in the 10th Division. Excuse me, Harada. The Shinsengumi is out patrolling day and night, right?
Ah, そうだぜ。それがどうかしたのか?
But what exactly is it that you do? Most of the men in the Shinsengumi were intimidating, death-dealing titans, but Harada was a rare exception, warm and friendly.
ま、ピンからキリまで大小様々だな。筋切りや追いはぎはもちろん、食い逃げも捕まえるし、喧嘩も止める。
People who don't pay for food?
商家を脅して金を奪おうとする奴らも、俺ら新選組が取り締まってるよ。
It wasn't really the answer I'd expected. I guess the Shinsengumi's job is closer to a magistrate's than I thought. Thinking back, I remembered how excited they were during the raid. What they did at the end was far more intense than their day-to-day work. A little further down the road, a couple of men in Shinsengumi blues were waving at us. Nagakura! I guess our separate rounds brought us to the same spot.
Yo! 親父さんの情報、なんか手に入ったか?
No, nothing today.
なかなかすんなって。今日がダメでも明日がある。そうだろ?
You're right. There was something contagious about his optimism.
で、新八、そっちはどうだ? 何か異常でもあったか?
いや、なんも。けど、やっぱり町人たちの様子がせわしねえな。
I hadn't noticed it before, but he was right. They were acting strange, almost nervous. Oh, it looks like they're getting ready to move.
ああ、戦火に巻き込まれる前に今日から避難し始めてるってとこか。
What? War? There wasn't a war, was there?
そういや、まだ教えていなかったな。長州の奴らが今日に集まってきてんだよ。その関係で、俺らも警戒強化中ってわけだ。
池田屋の件で長州を怒らせちまったからな。あいつらの仲間から犠牲が出ちまったし、 黙ってられないんだろうよ。
Were the Choshu going to try something again?
さあな。まだはっきりしたことはわからね
え。どっちにせよ、俺たちは俺たちの仕事をする。長州の連中が今日に来ても追い返すだけさ。
They accepted their situation and never complained. I had a good deal of respect for Harada and Nagakura.
長州と戦か。もしかすると近いうちに上から出動命令が出るかもしれねえな。
So you think the Aizu will give you all orders?
ああ、正式に幕府の一部隊として参加することになるかもな。
そんな機会めったにないからな。せっかくだからお前も出てみるか。
What? I was perplexed by his sudden invitation. Does this mean I could march as a member of the Shinsengumi? It seemed rather inappropriate for me to ask to participate just for curiosity's sake. Still, I very much hope to be helpful in some way. Could I, perhaps, do something like what I'd done at the Ikeda Inn? However, there's also the chance that I become a hindrance as opposed to helping them out. I wanna come. My mind was made up. I nodded to Harada. I want to help. I would like to participate and help in some way.
お前の気持ちよくわかったぜ。もしその時が来たらお前も参加できるよう俺も応援してやるよ。
Now we got to play the skip button again because we've been through this scene way too many freaking times. We're gonna get to our next choice quickly. And I wanted to skip the goddamn sound effect that hurts my ears. Thank God we skipped that. And we only heard like a fraction of a second of it. Anyway. Off to help the Aizu. We're leaving Son-on-Son, Heisuke, and Okita behind because they have serious injuries. Nagakura is only going because he claims his hand is healed. Which I doubt, but that man has a resilience you'd never expect. Anyway, communications with the Aizu is absolutely shit. Yeah, I don't want to hear that sound effect. That sound effect is absurdly loud, and no matter how low I make the volume, it's still loud. Anyway, we're being led to Kujo Beach, where the reserves are. And we're gonna skip this. Skipping all of this. Because we're gonna be woken up by a cannon! There it is. We're going. Hijikata-san is pissed at the reserve Aizu who don't do anything. Anyway, we're going, and we're gonna get to the gate and see all of this destruction!
Yep.
Which means Hijikata-san is gonna get information from Saito, and Yamazaki should be here in a second. There he is. And eventually he's gonna give out orders and give me my choice already. Kono-san was meeting with the leaders of the Aizu. If I joined him, there would be nothing for me. Blah, blah, blah. I had many options for what I could do. Hijikata-san would be pursuing the leaders of the Choshu attack towards Tenno Mountain. Sato-san would be staying at Hamaguri Gate to protect it and to gather information. Harada and his men would be going to Kuge Gate to stop the attack on the Imperial Estate. The question was, where would I go? Well, there's only one option we haven't done yet, and it's, to Kuge Gate. I decided to accompany Harada to the Kuge Gate. When we arrived, it was immediately clear that the fight wasn't as decisive as the one at Hamaguri. The Judiciary Commissioner's men who moved to Kuge from Hamaguri were still engaged with a number of Choshu soldiers refusing to yield.
俺たちの前に出るなよ。危ないからな。
Before I could respond, he was off, the rest of the Shinsengumi thundering into the battle behind him.
行くぞお前ら。
Harada led the Shinsengumi warriors and dived right into the center of the battlefield.
御所へ討ち入るつもりなら、まず俺を倒してから行くんだな。
くそ、新手。その服は新選組か。
ああ、新選組だ。死にたいやつからかかってこいよ。
おのれ。
War cries rose up from both sides, and battle was joined. This time, however, the forces defending the imperial state had the Shinsengumi on their side. The battle did not last long.
もはやここまでか。
A great moan of pain went up from the soldiers of the Choshu.
逃がすな。おい。
The officers of the Judiciary Commissioner shouted to their men, who slowly began to advance. They had scarcely begun to move, however, when the man covering the Choshu escape turned and faced them.
へい、雑魚ども。光栄に思うんだな。てめえらとはこの俺様が遊んでやるぜ。
Well, look who has finally appeared! There was a flash of silver, and a sound like the crack of thunder filled the air. The sound rang loudly in my ears, and I saw the man holding a silver barrel with smoke rising from it. A gun? It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. It was smaller than a normal gun, making it easier to conceal. It was called a handgun.
なんだ？銃声一発で腰が抜けたか？
He looked pointedly at the remaining officials, his mouth drawn open in a toothy grin. The reason why people couldn't approach him was because of his aura rather than the fear of the gun. He was clearly outnumbered, but looked no more concerned than if he were facing no enemies at all. It was clear to everyone that he was no normal man.
遊んでくれるのは結構だが、お前だけ飛び道具を使うのは卑怯だな。
Harada? Harada moved a few steps closer to the stranger.
は？卑怯じゃねえって。そっちこそ長物持ってんじゃねえか。
Pig sticker. All right. Both men grinned, a challenge to one another. Almost too fast to see, the point of Harada's spear swept through the air towards the stranger, who leaned out of the way at the last moment.
てめえは骨がありそうだな。にしても真正面から来るか普通。
小手先でごまかすなんざ、戦士としても男としても二流だろ。
The stranger grinned.
俺は知らぬい京様だ。お前の名乗り聞いてやるよ。
新選組10番組組長原田佐之助。
Bye, Dan. I don't think the Awuga's gonna happen for a while anyway. They seemed to see one another not so much as enemies, but as rivals. The air between them was tense, but I felt no evil intent from either man. What should I do? Get rid of Shiranui. That's legit what we're doing. Anna!
お前、前に出るなって言っただろ。
If I was honest with myself, I was terrified. The strange man was very dangerous, but Harada saw something in him, so perhaps he would hear me out. I didn't let Harada finish. Shiranui-san, right? Could you leave now?
面白くなってきたところなんだぜ。野暮なことするんじゃねえ。
But Can't you let this all go?
あ？何言ってんだてめえ。ふざけてんならぶっ殺すぞ。
I felt a cold bead of sweat roll down my spine. This, I thought, must be how a frog feels when it catches the eye of a snake. But I opened my mouth. There was no going back. No. Well, all of the Choshu's shoulders? Every time, I swear. No. Well, all of the Choshu's soldiers ran away.
おっとと、そうだったか?
Although he hadn't said anything, he'd clearly been serving as a sort of rear guard for the Choshu during their retreat. Now that they're gone, I don't think there really is a reason for you to fight. His eyebrows went up, and he looked at me more closely with a shy hint of perplexion. Our job is to protect the Imperial estate. If you still insist on drawing your gun, Shiranui's expression still looked warped. He let out an exasperated sigh.
ああ、やめだ、やめ。
He put his gun away, and he scratched his head.
なかなか腹の据わったガキじゃねえか。面白い奴らに会えて、今日の俺様はご機嫌だぜ。だがいい気になるなよ。お前も原田も。次があれば容赦しねえぞ。
Harada moved himself between me and Shiranui.
俺たちも長州となれ合うつもりはないさ。まあ、お楽しみは素直に取っておくんだな。
ああ、お前とは相入れねえな。俺は好きなものは最初に食う派だ。
And with a raucous laugh, he was gone. Harada followed the direction Shiranui went for a few hundred feet, then returned once he was sure the man had actually disappeared.
またどこかで会おうぜ。
Harada gave me a short tap on the head.
あんまり無茶するなよ。心配するじゃねえか。
Lips. He hadn't said much, but those few words were enough to let me know that he cared about me. ごめんね. I mumbled. Harada looked at me for a moment, and his eyes thinned.
いや、お前の判断は正しかったと思う。こっちも余計な怪我人を出さずに済んだ。土方さんの指示は長州を追い返すことだしな。奴らの追悼は俺たちの仕事じゃない。だからありがとうよ。
Harada looked towards the direction they ran. He looked a little sad.
しかしな、今さら逃げてどこまで行けるんだろうな。長州のやつらさ、このまますんなり長州まで帰れっこね。これからが大変だろうぜ。
I was initially confused by his statement, but then I realized they'll be running through enemy territory, and they might never make it home.
だが、これが戦の習いってやつだから仕方がね。知らぬいのやつとはまた会うことになるからな。そんな気がする。
I don't know why, but I kind of had the same hunch. So, if you see him again, would you fight him? Harada was one of the captains of the Shinsengumi. So long as Shiranui was allied with the Choshu, there was no doubt that they were forever enemies.
まあ、俺の槍も避けられるし、銃を相手にするのは血と骨が折れそうだが、あいつが敵なら戦うだけだ。
Harada. There was no mistaking the resolve in his voice. I was sure that the man called Shiranui would no doubt prove a dangerous foe, but Harada's smile put me at ease, even for just a while. With the battle at Kuge Gate finally at an end, the men who remained began to clean up. I helped as best I could, moving rubble and tending to the wounded, glad that the battle was finally over. This is the Hamaguri Rebellion. The ones that escaped eventually set Kyoto on fire, and the southern half of Kyoto actually burned down, and a few Gion floats burned down as well. The Gion festival was going on. And now we have reached September, which we're gonna go through fast, because we have seen this scene too many times as well. Bye, Hesuke! I hope you find some good men to bring back to join the Shinsengumi, because Kondo-san is gonna follow you in a month. And please give me my choice. Please give me my choice. I want to watch over everyone while you're gone. It's the correct response that we're going with, for Harada's sake. We've been through this a lot. I don't remember how many times, because this happens no matter which option you choose. Just depends on the route and what you need for the good ending. I don't think we actually get this every route. I think there's a couple where we don't, but I can't remember which ones. Anyway, that's the end of chapter 2. Oh my god. Hold on. Is it? Shit. Hey! It's raining outside! Hold on. Yeah, I hear the rain. Now we're skipping. We got tea.
Yeah.
We're looking for a new headquarters because there's now too many men in here, and the soldiers are kind of packed like sardines in the Marikawa house. So we need bigger space. Also, Ito just insulted Son and Son. Please leave. Take Miki with you. Alright. Now we should have our choice. And our choice is return to my room. Perhaps it would be best to just return to my room. I didn't want to get in trouble for wandering around, but most of all, I didn't want to find myself in anyone's way. Even though I was worried about Son and Son, maybe it was best for me to stay out of the way. Just as the sun dipped below the horizon, the compound exploded with activity. My worry increased tenfold. Did something happen? Alright, we can skip this as well. Because this is just the same scene we've seen before. Now they're gonna explain to me the water, life, and the fury, and everything that happened to Son and Son. And about what our father did. Which wasn't really that nice. Because it was an experiment on men. That turned them into furies. And the water of life. That's all you need to know. And we're not taking it so well because our face is pale as fuck. Oh, but we do get to see this one scene again. I think slightly different, but our choice is go outside. Oh, there's the rain. I hear it now. clear as day. I took a deep breath and my lungs filled with crisp, cold air. It brought me a sense of calm, cooling me down. I stood in disbelief of everything that happened tonight.
お、さっきよりは顔色良くなったんじゃねえか。
You think so?
んな引きつった顔で笑うなって。まあ、気持ちはわかるけどよ。怖かっただろう。いきなりあんな話を聞かされて。
Oh, it's not like that. It was hard for me to be up front with him, so I attempted to look stoic as best as I could.
別に強がる必要なんてねえよ。怖いものを怖いっていうのは悪いことでもなんでもねえ。まあ、他のやつの前じゃ言わねえ方がいいだろうがな。
After saying his piece, Harada lightly patted my head. Harada. It may have been a small gesture, but I couldn't deny it brightened my mood a little. Despite the circumstances, I appreciated Harada treating me as if everything was going to be okay. What's going to happen to Sun-on-Sun?
どうだろうな。かなり追い詰められてたからな、あの人。
I know. I had nothing really to chime in with, so I nodded. I wasn't sure how much my opinion would matter, considering that I was an outsider to them.
あの人には江戸にいた頃から世話になってるし、できれば生き残ってほしいもんだが、死ぬのなんていつでもできるんだからな。
He sighed deeply and looked up at the sky.
だが目を覚ました時、三男さんが元のままのあの人でいてくれるかはわからねえ。
I watched his expression and thought to myself, what does Harada think of the serum? Has he accepted it as a necessary risk for the Shinsengumi? Does he tell himself that it's for the good of his men and that it can't be helped? Harada. I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to know what he was thinking, but I shut my mouth. なんでもない。
なんだ、別に遠慮なんざする必要はねえんだぜ。
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's nothing really.
そうか。ならいいんだが。三男さん、早く目を覚ましてくれるといいな。できれば元のあの人のままで。こりゃ過ぎた望みってもんか。
We all wish for the same thing. I silently shook my head. I don't think that's asking for too much. We all wish for the same thing. It was something I truly meant. Harada stood silently, watching the leaves dance around us, and turned to me.
ありがとうよ。お前、いいやつだな。
Our conversation met a halt. The thought of my father conducting experiments with that medicine, and knowing that with it he was performing cruel acts on men, it gave me so many things to worry about, but right now all I could wish for was for Sun-on-Sun to pull through. Then an unexpected visitor arrived.
お前たち、こんな夜更けにここで何をしている？
そりゃこっちのセリフだ。あんたこそこんな時間にどこに出かけてたんだ？門限破りは切腹だぜ。
私は身分寺で剣術の稽古をしてきただけだ。局長の許しも得ている。
なるほど。さっさと中に戻ってくれねえか。今ちょっとした騒ぎになっててよ。
騒ぎだと？一体何があったのだ？
俺も詳しくは聞かされてねえんだ。大方体内に尊攘派の患者が入り込んだとかじゃねえのか。さっさと部屋に戻った方がいいぜ。あんたもともと近藤さんたちからいい印象を持たれてねえだろ
う。いらぬ世話だ。
Takeda darted an icy gaze towards Harada, and he scurried beyond the gates. Was what you said okay to say?
少なくともボロは出してねえはずだが、明日以降土方さんたちがうまくごまかしてくれるのを祈るしかねえな。
And so the long night broke. And we can skip. There's so much rain outside, I can hear it. Hopefully it's not getting in through my window. But thankfully I have a towel there so that it can soak up the water. I got a leaky window. I've learned how to do this for years. I just put a towel down and hope for the best. Oh, and now Sun is awake! And he's now a fury and his arm is fixed, but now he can't go into Sun, so his suggestion is that he's dead. Which means now we definitely need to fucking move, because this place is way too fucking small for everybody. And to keep Sun and Sun a secret. And we have moved. We can skip? Yeah, we can skip this part. We've seen it too many times. It's an unnecessary part you always see, so on we go. What is this? This is Heisuke's return, right? Yep. Which means we're gonna meet Kaoru. And that's an adventure. Also, it seems Heisuke is paired off with Okita often on rounds, so that's fun fact to know. There's Kaoru, there she is.
Yeah.
And now Okita and Heisuke are gonna rescue her. And Okita's like, hey, hold up a second. You two look alike. Please stand next to each other awkwardly.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't like how Chizuru doesn't have an actual proper sprite, it's just her artwork. I wish they gave her an actual proper sprite work. Wait, is this... we can skip? We're being forced to go with them to protect the Emperor and be a messenger girl! Though Soji is staying because he's sick, and Heisuke says I'm sick too. I ain't going. Everybody else is though. And now we keep skipping until we get to the good part. Or the part that makes us choose. Actually, I think we saw this last... No, we didn't. 2 routes ago we saw this scene. I think. Oh, look, there they are. The 3 troublemakers. The demons. They have found me. Hi. I know, you're here to kidnap me. You're gonna tell me that I'm a demon, and I'm not gonna believe you fully, but you do at least bring up the fact that I can heal pretty damn fast, which is not a thing humans do, but demons do that, actually. I just have 0 clue of my heritage. And in comes...
Oi, oi. 合いびきならもう少し色気のある場所を選んだ方がいいんじゃねえか?
The boys are here to save me.
田舎の犬は目端だけは聞くと見える。
Oh my god, the rain stopped. The sun is coming out.
それはこちらのセリフだ。
Harada! Saito-san! My legs almost collapsed, as if the now shattered tension was the only thing keeping me standing. I teetered backwards, my balance momentarily lost. A strong hand caught me and pulled me back, its grip hard as steel.
下がってろ。
Hijikata-san. One hand guided me around behind him as the other drew his sword.
将軍の首でも取りに来たかと思えば、こんなガキ一人に一体何の用だ。
将軍も貴様らも今はどうでもいい。これは我ら鬼の問題だ。
鬼だと。
His eyes narrowed. Hijikata-san seemed perplexed by Kazuma's statement, as if contemplating the possibility of its truth.
こいつの面を拝むのは金門の変以来だな。
Kibomohen. Kibomohen, I think is another word for that event for the Hamaguri Rebellion. So Kibomohen. I'm learning.
腐れんってとこか。大して嬉しくもねえがな。再会という意味ではこちらも同じくだ。
我々の邪魔立てをするつもりですか。ならば。
The tension was so thick in the air that I could scarcely breathe. They were a powder keg ready to explode. Even the slightest movement could set them off. It wasn't like I could do much. But I still wanted to help them, so I grabbed my sword.
副長たちの心配は無用だ。
Yamazaki? When did you...
副長の命だ。君はこのまま俺が豚書まで連れて行く。
Then you're telling me to run away?
その通りだ。君がここにいてもできることは何もない。
I mean, he may be right, but... Stay! We're staying! I'm going to stay here.
雪村か。君は状況を理解していない。ここに残って何ができる？
I know that staying here might not be the smartest idea, but... They called me a demon and told me to come with them. I still didn't know what they'd meant. I needed to know the truth.
君にも譲れない理由があるのだろうな。だが、それは俺も同じこと。副長の命を遂行する。それが俺にとって己を貫くということだ。
What? Yamazaki reached for my arm, ready to take me with him by force, but... The gun Shiranui held was pointed towards Yamazaki.
へいへい、待てって。お姫さんはここに残るっつってんだろ。振られたのに邪魔してんじゃねえよ。
With his spear, Harada tried to pierce Shiranui in the heart, but... Shiranui easily dodged his strike.
時に拙速は高知に勝りますが、白縫いの手の速さも考えものですね。
そういうあんたも止めなかったようだが。
Saito and Amagiri maneuvered nearly into striking distance of one another. Saito drew his sword and attempted to strike at Amagiri.
甘い。
Amagiri saw through his movements instantly and dodged the incoming blade.
くそ、なんなんだこいつら。
Hijikata-san screamed, his voice filled with frustration. I didn't move. I knew leaping into the fight would do everyone, including myself, more harm than good. After all, if Okitan Heisuke couldn't manage, how could I? Just then, someone came into my line of vision.
心配すんな。
なんだ、邪魔する気か？
命っつうのはもっと大事に使うもんだぜ。
As he spoke, I could see Shiranui loosen his gun from its holster. He finished by tossing a smug grin at Harada, who returned it in kind. Despite all of Harada's bravado, too much distance between them remained, with the gun's advantage.
俺様の銃とお前の槍、この間合いでどっちが有利か見てわかんねえほどバカなのか？
Harada. Have faith in Harada. That's what we're doing, having faith in him. I have faith in you.
ああ、俺に任せておけ。
In a swift motion, he swept his foot across the ground, throwing up a small cloud of dust.
何?
He threw a small rock straight at Shiranui's gun.
バカはお前だ。余裕かまして油断してんじゃねえよ。
面白い。
Shiranui dodged the rock, and in that moment, where his gun wavered off its target, Harada charged. They froze, mirror images of one another, each with a weapon poised to deliver a killing blow. I could see their intensity rolling off of them in shimmering waves, like heat from a roaring furnace. Ugh. Even their faces were mirrored, each with a playful grin, as if they were only friends having some fun.
その銃、飾りじゃねえんだろ。なんで使うの？
決まってんだろ。銃声を聞きつけたつまんねえ奴らに水を刺されたくねえからな。
If the spear tip moved even a fraction of an inch, or Shiranui's finger slipped on the trigger, that would be it. I froze, watching who would yield or die first. It was Shiranui who lowered his gun.
なかなか楽しかったぜ。今度は心置きなく銃をぶっ放せるときに会いてえもんだ。
男からの誘いなんざごめんだぜ。
Both men stepped back, their fight clearly finished.
これ以上の戦いは無意味ですな。長引いて今日が乗っても困るでしょう。
それ、俺様への当てつけか？こう見えても引き際は心得てるつもりだぜ。今日が乗ると止まんねえのはむしろ。
Shiranui looked towards Kazuma as he spoke.
確かにこれ以上の長いは無駄か。あくまでも今日は真偽を確かめに来ただけだから。
むざむざ逃がすとでも思っているのか。
虚勢はやめておけ。貴様らはまだしも騒ぎを聞きつけて集まった雑魚どもは何人死ぬか知れたものではないぞ。
Kazuma and his companions were no doubt powerful. His words held arrogance, which we knew he spoke truth. Meh. They left silently, fading into the darkness, but as he did, Kazuma spoke to me one last time, his red eyes piercing me as they glared.
近いうちに迎えに行く。楽しみに待っているがいい。
He was far out of arm's reach, but his words nearly brushed against my cheek, cold and threatening. A shiver ran up my spine. I crumpled to the floor.
大丈夫か？
I'm fine.
お前、嘘つくの下手だな。顔真っ青だぜ。しばらくそのまま座ってろ。歩けなかったら俺がおぶってやるからよ。
Thank you. For a while, Hijikata-san stared deeply and harshly towards the darkness.
おい、お前。あいつらに狙われる心当たりでもあるの？
I hesitated. They had said I was one of them, Kazuma had invited me to go with them. Had he been telling the truth? I didn't know. I'm not sure. There was really nothing more I could say. Word of this incident spread the ranks of the Shinsengumi quickly in another form.
おい、侵入者がいたらしいな。幹部がガン首揃えて何やってやがったんだ。
侵入者？私は聞かされていない。間違った情報なのでは？
おいおい、俺が嘘を言ってるってのか？
嘘とは言っていない。君が勘違いをしていると言っているだけだ。本当にいたのなら、まず私に連絡があるはず。それがなかったのだから、偽の情報に決まっている。
そうかよ。本当だったらただじゃ済まさねえからな。
Supposedly, they stormed to Hijikata-san's room, but he told them the incident of the intruder was a misunderstanding. The only people that were notified of Kazuma's infiltration were only a handful of the captains. So, in the eyes of the public, the infiltration of Nijo Castle didn't happen. Since then, we can skip. What am I? I don't know, but we know. It's not June. And we can skip all of this. I'm sorry, we're not gonna see the beefcake for that long. But
what?
Yeah, but mash. You can hear it. Beefcake. Alright, it's over. Yamazaki, can you please get them for me? Thanks, buddy. We're gonna be skipping a lot, actually, because I don't think Canada is involved in any of this. We have learned everything. Matsumoto-sensei, I'm sorry, but we know about the Water of Life, we know about the Furies, we know what our father was doing, and, sorry. You're absolutely disappointed that I know everything. And you would rather I didn't, but I do, unfortunately. And in comes Sana-san. Sana-san and Matsumoto-sensei don't exactly see eye to eye, especially this moment, because Sana-san's like, the Water of Life is a revelation, Matsumoto-sensei is like, it's an abomination, and really it shouldn't be a thing you keep experimenting with. But Sana-san just wants to, and now he's also complained to Kondo-san that the compounds is absolutely filthy. And the boys have to clean now. Of course, Takada is going to do none of the work. Because it is Takada. Miki, at least I'm surprised, is actually helping out. But maybe Ito forced him. Alright. As much as he's here, he's going to say how clean everything is. And we're going to see him leave with Okita in a second. Anyway, it's not any of my business. We leave it be. And it's Kazuma again. Kazuma has returned. He's come here to tell us things. He's not here to kidnap us, but he's going to tell us that our father is with the Imperialists. And we're going to skip through all this. Just so the Kazuma can leave. Ow. Anyway, I was thinking about their interest in me. Why were Kazuma and his friends after me? He said that I had the blood of a demon, but
でもさ、なんであいつってお前のことを狙ってたんだろうな。
何言ってやがんだよ。男が女を狙う理由なんざ一つしかねえだろうが。
え、何何？
Oh my god! Hold on. Wait, what happened? Hold on. What? Hey, yo, wait, hold on. I thought I had delivery. I thought I had it for no signature. What? I guess I gotta make it clear. That's weird. Well, I guess I'm waiting till Monday. Damn. Let me see. Sorry, I had to take care of this real quick. The hell, man. Anyway.
大方、こいつに一目惚れでもしたんだろ
う。What? His response was surprising to say the least, and it seemed to come from nowhere.
なんだ？そんなに意外か？そんななりをしてても分かるやつには分かるもんだぜ。あの鬼野郎もその一人なんだろうよ。
No, he's not in. That's not the reason.
そう思ってるのは案外お前だけかもな。
Why are you doing this to me? Please stop. My voice faded into a pathetic whimper.
佐野さんってどうして何でもかんでも色ごとに持っていくんだよ。つうかどさくさに紛れてこいつを口説くのはやめてくんね。
別に色ごとに結びつけたつもりはねえがな。思ったままを言っただけだぜ。
これだよ。
I wasn't sure what to say, but my face started to feel hot all of a sudden.
無駄口はそこまでだ。お前ら、さっさと仕事に戻れ。つうか、他の大使の目につく場所で雪村の性別について話すんじゃね
え。へいへい、わかってるって。
おっと、結構時間経ってた。お前一人で大丈夫か？
I'm almost done, so I'll be fine. I looked up at the sky. The sun began to set. I need to hurry up and finish my cleaning.
元気出せよ。
Harada gave me a friendly clap on the shoulder. Suddenly, my heart felt a little lighter, and my mind a little less troubled. Thank you! I rolled up my sleeves and took a firm grip on my broom. I know what's coming up next. Anyway, second Choshu expedition. Yep, the second Choshu expedition. It didn't go well. And we can skip all this.
Yeah. So
we saved the girl! Sort of, kind of.
あ、まだ。で、見てこれ。あら。あ、これ。そっちで。雪。あな。ごめん。雪。よろ。なんかみ。
We made a friend.
雪村。
Oh no, no, it's Soma and Nomura. Nagakura is absolutely gonna break them. And we're back on us on some tea. And they're gonna be talking about a notice board. Press button fast. Anyway, what are our thoughts and we're worried? We're worried about the notice board. Time to do this again. Just as Hijikata-san predicted, a few days later, the order came down for the Shinsengumi to guard the notice board. All divisions not on regular patrol rounds were directed to take turns on guard duty. The first day was quiet, and the men on duty spent most of it simply standing around. Nemu.
おいおい、いくらなんでもだらけすぎだろ。ちゃんとしろよ、ちゃんと。
んなこと言われてもよ。島原で夜明かしするんならともかく、夜を徹して見張りとなると身が入らねえこと入らねえこと。さすがに今日こそは何か起きてくれねえとな。今夜の当番は佐野、お前の組だろ？
そうだったな。ま、役目は果たすさ。
Just then. Oh, hello, Ito-san. Hello to you too, Miki.
あら、お三方。もしかしてこの部屋使ってらっしゃるのかしら？
Ito-san and Miki-san entered the room, followed by a bunch of warriors from the Ito faction.
なんだ、ゾロゾロと連れ立って。何か用でもあるんですか？
これから新論を題材に同志諸君と議論をしようと思っているのだけど、よろしければ皆さん方もご一緒にいかがかしら？
兄貴も嫌味だな。新論どころか四書五経すらまともに読んでないような奴らが議論なんてできるはずないだろう。
まあ、この子ったらなんてことを言うのかしら。お気を悪くなさらないでね、お三方。同志諸君、ここはもう使ってらっしゃるようですから、別の部屋に行くことにしましょう。
Ito-san and his men went back out into the hallway and disappeared. As soon as they were out of sight, Nagakura's face warped.
ったく、相変わらず嫌味な連中だぜ。
仲間を集めてこそこそしやがって。実際は何を議論してるんだか分かったもんじゃねえな。近藤さんも平助も何を考えてあんな奴らを引っ張ってきたんだか。
It wasn't just Nagakura and Harada who didn't seem to like Ito-san much. I'd heard plenty of the other captains and even some of the soldiers talking about him in less than glowing terms. There was no way Ito-san himself hadn't picked up on it, but he seemed to have larger concerns than his reputation, and had devoted his efforts to increasing his power base within the Shinsengumi. Oh, hello, Takeda.
先ほど伊藤さんたちがここへ来たはずだが。
They were just here. They went off to another room to have some discussion or something.
別室だと。会合を開く際は一声かけてくださいと言ってあったのに、もしや私を参加させぬために。
Takeda muttered to himself, and he went out of the common room.
なんだありゃ。
伊藤さんの腰巾着をしようと思ったが相手にされてねってとこだろう。武田さんも最近体内に居場所がねえみてえだしな。
After Harada said that, he suddenly got up.
さてと、そろそろ頃合いだな。行ってくるとするか。
Oh,
なんだ？もしかしてお前もついてくるつもりか？やめとけ。お前は鬼連中から狙われてんだろ。夜の巡察には連れて行けねえよ。
I suppose you're right. All the sitting around all day started to make me chafe. I wanted to help somehow, but Harada was right. If I went with him, I'd just end up getting in the way. Well, please be careful, okay, Harada?
おう、わかってるって。
That night they struck, or tried to. 8 men from the Toso domain challenged Harada and his division by trying to tear down the notice board. The fighting was furious but short. Harada managed to capture some of the perpetrators, although some of his captives later managed to escape. Harada and his division were honored by the Aizu domain for their service to the shogunate and were given a reward. When he was asked how the captured men had managed to escape, he simply replied it was too dark to get a good look, and said no more. Several days had passed. I accompanied the captains to a meal at Sumi.
いやー、佐野、お前は本当によくやった。まさか報奨金でみんなにご馳走したいなんて言ってくれるとはな。
新八さん、褒めるならそこじゃなくて生殺を守りきったってところじゃない？
いや、そこはもちろん褒めるけどな。それ以上にここの感情を佐野が持ってくれるってことに感激して涙がちょちょぎれそうで。みんな、今夜は佐野のおごりだ。目いっぱい飲んで日頃の憂さを晴らしてくれ。
てめえ、人の金だと思って。
佐野さん、ありがとよ。今日は感情を気にせず好きなだけ飲ませてもらうからな。
Oh boy.
みんながみんなお酒を飲めるわけじゃないんだけどね。
そう言わずに、せっかく来たんだからうまいものをたんと食っとけ。
そうですよね。土方さんも遠慮せずにたくさん飲んでくださいね。
いや、俺は酒は。
へえ、まさか泣く子も黙る新選組副長ともあろう方が飲めないなんて言いませんよね。
てめえ、知ってて言ってやがるだろう。わざとらしいんだよ。
I wasn't sure if it was alright of me as a woman to be joining them. But it was an incredibly rare opportunity for me to visit Shimabara. I guess I could enjoy the festivities while here.
おおきにお頼申します。
A geigi in a beautiful kimono stepped through to greet us with a smile that was both dazzling and demure. Her skin was as white as porcelain with soft red highlights. Her lips looked soft and full, and her hair shone in the light like yards of fine silk. For a moment I stared in awe of her beauty, my own sex forgotten. Something flickered in her eyes, but it was gone almost immediately. Then she smiled, and it was like watching a flower bloom.
今晩お相手させていただきます。君菊どす。すぐにお料理もできますよって。存分に楽しんでいってください。
Food! Indeed it had, and once the food had arrived, the party truly began.
やっぱ高い酒は違うな。喉がキューッとするよ、キューッと。
スケ、お前さっきから飯も食わずに飲んでばっかじゃねえか。すきっ腹で飲むと酔いが回るのが早いぞ。
いや、豚書じゃこんな高い酒飲めねえし、飯で腹いっぱいにしちまうのがもったいなくてさ。
Damn it, Heisuke.
貧乏くせえセリフだな。今日ぐらいは気にしないで飲んでいけよ。
さすが傷っ腹、いやいや太っ腹。
楽しんでるか？ん？全然飲んでねえじゃねえか。
Oh, I can't drink, so I'm just enjoying the food.
お、そうだったっけ？そんじゃ料理をたらふく食っとけよ。せっかく来たんだから楽しんでいかねえと損だぞ。
Thanks. Still, it was the first time I've ever eaten anything expensive. Although to be honest, I couldn't taste much of a difference.
新選組の土方藩って鬼のような方と聞いてましたけど、なんや役者みたいなええ男どすな。
Almost like an actor. Certainly not a compliment Hichikata hasn't received about 1 billion times from any woman that crossed his path.
よく言われる。
Case in point. Kimiguku and Hichikata-san chatted easily while she poured him his sake, looking almost too beautiful to be real, like they'd stepped out of a painting.
にしても立て札を守っただけでこんだけの報奨金が出るんなら、全員捕まえてたらどれだけの大金がもらえてたんだろうな。なあ佐野、どうして逃がしちまったんだ？8人くらいならなんとかできねえ数じゃねえだろ
う。わあ、俺もそれが不思議だったんだ。敵を絶対に逃がさないよう取り囲んでたんだろ。一旦捕まえたやつもいたらしいのに、本当は何があったんだよ。
Harada fell silent, his face slipping into a frown. He stayed that way for a moment or two, then looked inexplicably at me.
お前、あの晩どこかに出かけなかったか？
Eh? I hesitated, unsure of what he was getting at. No, I didn't go anywhere. Why?
本当にあの夜は外に出てねえんだな。
I'm sure. I never left the compound alone ever.
おい、どうしたんだ？
見間違いであってくれりゃいいんだが、あの晩は月も出てなくて暗かったからな。だがあれだけ近くで見たんだ。絶対に間違うはずがねえ。
Harada? What are you talking about?
いや、実はだな。立て札を引っこ抜こうとした土佐藩士を取り囲んだ時、お前によく似た顔の女に邪魔されて囲みを破られちまったんだ。
What? The whole room went silent. Harada just spoke above a whisper, but each of us could hear him perfectly. A girl who looked just like me?
まあそんな時もある。何にせよ今日は佐野のおごりだ。朝まで飲もうぜ。
賛成。今日は限界に挑戦してやるぜ。
In just a few minutes, Heisuke and Nagakura had the party back in full swing, but I couldn't get my mind off what Harada had said. Then, what had he seen? I felt strange. We feel strange. I felt strange. What would you call something like this, after all? A ghost? No, I was still alive. Was this some sort of astral projection then? Whatever it was, there was something out there that looked just like me, causing trouble. It was depressing.
さっきは悪かったな。おかしなこと言っちまって。別にお前を疑ってるわけじゃねえんだ。俺たちの邪魔をしてもお前が得することなんて何もねえはずだしな。
No. No, it's not like that. I'm fine. Please, don't worry about me. I know for sure that I was at the temple that night. Besides, I don't think I could even get to Sanjo Ohashi without one of you guys.
なんだ、まだ道順を覚えてねえのか。結構順札にも出てるんだろう。
Well, a long time, yes, but, all of the streets look the same, and there aren't any landmarks to help me out. You don't think it's hard to find your way around Kyoto?
お前らしいっちゃお前らしいかもしれねえけど。今日に来て3年になるんだし、そろそろ慣れてもいい頃じゃねえか。
You think so? Just then, a thought struck me. Oh, Heisuke!
なんだ?
Do you think maybe the girl Harada's talking about is the one we met? You remember, her name was Kaoru. We met her when we were out on patrol with Okita.
あ、そういえば。
He smacked his leg heartedly as if he remembered.
でも掃除は似てるって言ってたけど、俺はそうでもないと思ったけどな。
Oh. He was right. In fact, Okita had teased him mercilessly about it. Perhaps it didn't mean what I suspected it did. I was deep in thought when Harada spoke up.
なんだ、もしかして知り合いなのか。
前に巡察の最中に会った女の子がいてさ、その子がこいつにそっくりだって掃除が言ってたんだ。俺はそんなに似てなかったと思うんだけど、なんせ向こうはお嬢さん姿だったし。
Ow, that's a shot at my pride, Heisuke. That was true too. I had been disguised as a man, but Kaoru had been wearing a woman's kimono. But did Heisuke only think we didn't look alike because of how we had been dressed?
その女のことはよくわからんが、とりあえず平助に女を見る目がねえってことはよくわかったぜ。
はあ？なんでそうなるんだよ。
Harada shot back a clever retort, and then they were off, bickering playfully back and forth. I watched them yell and gesticulate, but my mind was elsewhere. Perhaps my face and Kaoru's did look similar, or even the same. But if it had been her, then what was her purpose in impeding Harada? Anyone who lived in Kyoto would have known the Shinsengumi, and what that board represented. I felt Harada's hand on my shoulder.
まあ、この世には似た顔をした人間が3人はいるって言うしな。 その女の仕業だって決めつけるのはちょっと早計だぜ。
I didn't know if there were really 3 people out there with my face, but he had a point. To all appearances, she was just a normal girl. I couldn't imagine someone like her deciding to mess with the Shinsengumi and then just disappear into the night.
雪村、その話詳しく聞かせてくれ。
Oh, well... While we were out on patrol a while ago, we met a girl named Kaoru. She looked a lot like me, and, Saito-san listened quietly, but looked up into my eyes when I finished, his face tense.
偶然とは思えん。一度その者に話を聞いてみる価値はありそうだな。
But she didn't look like someone who would want to harm the Shinsengumi, or even could.
ごく普通の町娘を装うことなどいくらでもできる。その女子と会ったのは本当に初めてなのか。
はい。Okita thought she looked just like me, although Heisuke didn't agree.
今日に親戚はいないのか。同じ顔の人間などそうめったにいるものではない。
No, I don't have any. My father never told me I had any either. If I had relatives here, I think my father would have told me to contact them, not Matsumoto-sensei.
なるほど。
He didn't look entirely convinced, but apparently I said enough because he asked me no more questions.
さてと、いい感じに酒も回ってきたことだし。
Oh no, here it comes.
これのあれをやらせてもらうぜ。
お、来た来た。さすがその持ってました。
ほら、目かっぴらいてしっかり見とけ。この腹はな、そんじょそこらの腹じゃねえ。刃物の味を知ってるんだぜ。
The now quite drunk Harada pulled open his shirt with a lopsided grin, pointing at the ugly scar across his belly, though in unfeigned polite interest.
なに威張ってやがんだ。切腹の作法も知らないゲス野郎って煽られて短気起こしててめえで詰めただけじゃねえか。
足りめえよ。男たるもの面目をぶっ潰されて黙ってられるか。
They're idiots.
佐野さん豪気だよな。もしそのまま死んじまってたらどうするつもりだったんだ。
そらそん時に考える。
あのさ、死んじまってたらそもそも考えられねえんじゃね。
んじゃ考えるのをやめてそのまま死んでやるよ。
God damn it.
武士道とは死ぬことと見つけたりなんてな。
God, they're pissed drunk.
そんじゃその名誉をたたえてっと。
Uh-oh. From out of nowhere, Nagakura produced a brush and its accompanying ink and began to draw on Harada's stomach.
あ、てめえ何しやがる。
いや、こんだけ見事な刀傷なんだ。名前でもつけて可愛がってやろうぜ。もしかしたらそのうち喋り始めるかもしれねえぞ。
バカ野郎、俺の傷は人面鼠かっつの。
ちょ、佐野さんやばいって。佐野さんが喋るたびにあらんとこにある口がピクピク動いて。
I appreciate Heisuke's voice actor right now. Apparently this was hilarious to Heisuke, who cackled uncontrollably, hands wrapped around his stomach and face red with mirth. The three of them cavorted and tumbled around the room like children, and in spite of myself, I began to laugh. Yeah, I mean... the Baka Trio. You're not gonna not laugh with the Baka Trio because they're the Baka Trio. The party lasted until morning. Oh, or so I heard. I left before it ended, for reasons of my own, but I heard plenty about it later. There was a lot for me to worry about, not the least of which was my possibly evil doppelganger. But I found it impossible to feel sorry for myself amidst all that good cheer. January 1867. December 1866. I was sweeping a section of the compounds despite being nearly frozen to the bone. Well, that should do it. I wanted to help out as much as I could, but since they still refused to let me out without an escort, there wasn't a great deal I could do. Still, I helped clean our home and that felt good. Hopefully they'd like it too.
お、境内を掃除してくれていたのか。助かるな。
Oh, hello, Kondo-san. I think we could just skip there, right? Potatoes! I saw the word potatoes! Anyway. Maybe we can skip this. And there should be one more scene? Yep, March. April 1867. By now, I'd welcomed a few winters since coming to Kyoto, which, unlike Edo, was prone to snowing days and freezing nights. However, compared to my first experience with winter in Kyoto, it seemed like I had finally become accustomed to it, taking it with aplomb. Winter was coming to an end, and now the bright side of spring began to bloom around the city. I paused to wipe the sweat off my forehead. I took a moment to survey the hall I had just finished mopping. It was nice to have more space, but it made cleaning the headquarters that much harder.
Yukimura-kun, 何をしてるんだね?
Oh, hello. Sitting in my room is so boring, so I thought I'd come out here and clean the hallway.
いや、すまないな。こんな雑務ばかり押し付けてしまって。
It's fine, really. You've been taking care of me for months now, but I haven't done anything for you. Kondo-san smiled, his kind eyes crinkling at the corners. Then he seemed to remember something and his expression turned serious.
そういえば、松本先生のつてで高堂さんについて調べてもらっているんだが。
Oh, good. Has he found anything out?
砂漠側の乱暴医関係は全て調べたらしいが、それらしい人物の情報は得られなかったそうだ。幕府側から辿ってみても行方がつかめないということは。
Kondo-san left the words hanging in the air, and his face scrunched up like he tasted something unpleasant. As I looked up at Kondo-san, I recalled a conversation I had in the past. Maybe it really is true that my father is in the West. He seemed to notice my expression had darkened and began to speak again.
まあ、仮に尊攘派についてしまったとしても、高堂さんの内心がどうであるかはわからんからな。もしかすると、老子たちに弱みを握られて脅されているだけという可能性もあるし、それに彼の羅刹に関する知識は我々にとっても有用だ。何としても探し出さねばならんと思っているよ。もちろん彼の命を奪う目的ではなくね。
He sounded honest, but it wasn't that easy to simply forget my concerns. No. I still have a lot of cleaning to do. Sorry. I couldn't bear to stay there and talk about my father, so I excused myself and left. Afterwards, I couldn't focus on searching for my father, and depressing days continued for... Wait, what? Afterwards, I couldn't focus on searching for my father, and depressing days continued for a few days.
Oh, ちょうどいいところに来た。お前にちょっと聞きてえことがあるんだが。
What is it?
おせんとかいう女を知ってるか？斎藤はお前の知り合いだって言ってるんだが。
Sen was a girl I had met a short while ago, whom I helped in a surprise encounter. Saito-san would know, since he was present at the time. Since then, I would chat briefly with her or greet her if I bumped into her during our rounds. She was one of the very few female acquaintances I'd met in my time in Kyoto. So I do happen to know Sen. Did something happen with her?
そっか。いや、さっき帰りがけにその女に声をかけられてな。お前に話してえことがあるんだと。
Oh, I know what this is.
とりあえず、お前を一人で外に出すわけにはいかねえから、ちょっとそこで待っててくれ。この大服、脱いでこねえとな。
今夜巡察に出る予定があるから、俺はこれで失礼する。
They nodded at one another and then headed off in different directions. What did Sen want to talk with me about, I wondered. In a few moments, Harada returned and we left the compound and entered Kyoto. I turned to see her waving at me from a short distance away. Hi, Sen. Long time no see.
さっき大使さんに偶然会ってね。あなたのことを聞かせてもらったの。どうしてるか気になってたから。
Really? I've been under the impression that she had something to discuss. But from the way she was talking, it sounded as though she only had inquired as to my condition. I looked at Harada, who coughed quietly and looked away. Did our boy just lie for the first time and it was convincing? I think he did.
お前と話してえことがあるって言ってたからな。
His voice was a low mumble. I wasn't sure if Sen had heard him or not.
ねえ、よかったらあそこの茶店でお話ししない？あのお店のお団子、すっごく美味しいの。
It was the tea house we'd visited together before. She was correct about the quality of the odango, but I glanced up at Harada.
せっかくだから二人で話してきたらどうだ？女同士積もる話もあるだろう。俺は離れたところで茶でもすすってるからよ。
Thanks. Then I think I will take you up on your offer, Sen.
さあ、行きましょう。
Sen and I made our way into the tea house as Harada wandered off.
最近どう？男女体に女の子が一人じゃ大変でしょう。困ったことがあったら遠慮しないでいつでも言ってね。
Oh, well, I'd only seen her a handful of times since coming to Kyoto, but she knows that I'm a girl and she treats me like one, so I can't thank Sen enough for that. I really appreciated it. Actually, I wanted to ask you, how did you know I was a girl the first time we met?
それって不思議なところ？見ればわかるに決まってるじゃない。女同士だもの。
Oh, really? Huh. I didn't really get it, but then again, it wasn't like I'd been in a situation where identifying disguised women was required.
それよりいろいろ聞きたいことがあるの。年はいくつだっけ？ 生まれはどこ？
I think I told you that last time, but as I began to talk, I felt myself begin to open up to her. I told her I was born in Edo and my family name was Yukimura. It was just my father and me, and he ran a Western clinic. We talked about the fashionable kimonos and accessories that were popular in Edo, as well as all the foods and sweets that came from shops. It was so fun to speak with another young girl around my age. Well, nothing really. Nothing really.
あなた方新選組の評判って今日では散々だけど、中にはいい人もいるみたいね。
She nodded pointedly towards Harada, who we could see standing a short distance away. He was leaning against a post, his sharp eyes constantly surveying the area. There was something graceful about his profile. I couldn't look away. Sen leaned over and whispered in my ear.
本当はあなたに会わせてもらえないんじゃないかって思ってたんだけど、あなたと知り合いだって言ったら、あの人がね、こう言ってくれたの。あいつ落ち込んでるみたいだから、少しでも気持ちが明るくなるように楽しい話をしてやってくれって。
本当? Did he really ask her all of that? If so, he was much more perceptive than I'd given him credit for. And the idea that he had done it just for me made me feel warm inside.
どうした？話はもう終わったのか？
He seemed to have noticed we were looking at him. Hi. I scrambled to my feet.
それじゃ、私はこの後用事があるから、もう行くわね。
Thanks for everything.
お礼を言われるようなことなんてしてないわよ。そちらの方もありがとうございました。それじゃ、また。
With a final polite bow to either of us, she turned and walked off with dainty ladylike steps. I still didn't actually know anything about Sun, but talking with her had left me feeling a great deal better.
そんじゃ、話も済んだみてえだし、豚書に戻るか。もうすぐ夕飯か。時間が経つのは早えもんだな。多分手が足りてねえと思うから支度を手伝ってやってくれるか。雑用ばっか押し付けちまって悪いが。
He started off towards his room. 待て！
どうかしたのか？
I wanted to tell him, did I really look that unhappy? Thanks for taking me out to talk to Sen today. But did I really look that unhappy? She told me what you said. That you asked her to cheer me up since I looked down. If I didn't know better, I would have sworn Harada blushed.
なんだ、あの嬢ちゃん喋っちまったのか。本人に知られちゃ台無しじゃねえか。
I'm sorry if I was worrying you. I thought I was hiding it pretty well. I looked down at the floor, embarrassed, but then I felt one of his hands pat the top of my head.
バカだな。隠しきれるはずねえだろ。お前が無理してんのなんて一目見りゃ分かっちまうんだよ。
Is that because I'm still just a kid?
まあ、少なくとも大人じゃねえよな。
Aw. He'd said it as a joke, but it still wasn't the answer I'd hoped for.
なんだよ、落ち込んでんのか？ガキっぽいってのは悪口でもなんでもねえよ。それに女ってのはお前くらい隙がある方が可愛げがあっていいと思うぜ。
Damn! How did that counter go up? I'm not sure how I feel about that. He let out a laugh.
背伸びしたってしょうがねえだろうが。そういうところがガキだって言うんだよ。
He patted me softly on the head, then stepped into his room and shut the door. Later that night, I sat on the balcony and gazed up at the moon as I replayed the events of the day again in my head. Harada had definitely improved my mood. There was still a great deal for me to worry about, but sulking and self-pity would get me nowhere. It wasn't a sure thing that my father had left for the West, so for now I must keep my head up. I was useless as any kind of soldier, rather than worrying the men, I must learn to listen to them and help them in other ways, just as Harada had done for me. It's chapter 4 time. But we're not going into chapter 4. No, we're not. We're saving. Yep, we're saving. And we are done for today. There's a lot I forgot and a lot that I saw coming. But, God, I want to know what happens in Edo Blossoms, but we gotta finish Kyoto Winds first. So, with that being said, tomorrow we're coming back with more Kyoto Winds at 3 p.m. EST. We're gonna continue Harada's route. And when that's done, because I don't know how long Chapter 5 and all that is, either tomorrow or the following day, we will start Edo Blossoms and continue Harada's route. Also, remind me to do the DLC as well, because that's in this one. But yeah, drink water, have a nice day or night, don't die because you didn't drink water, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.